First of all, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to come here and talk to you guys. A lot has gone through in life, and a lot of us know a lot of veterans that have taken the statement and make it red, white, and blue, and understanding what that means and laid down their life for that. So I have a few individuals that song really hit me. So I just want you to thank you for singing that. Thank you. I grew up in the church as a kid. My father was the elder leader in our church, so I got to go around with him and with the church, and we built a church from a small 150-person congregation with 3 services to fit the 150 people in a small town in California to a bigger church now that has 3 services that's over 1,200 last time I was there as a kid. But we got to build it up from the ground. My dad was a mechanic or a maintenance guy himself, so I got to learn a lot of skills along the way, from carpentry to other things along the way. But personally, when I was in the church, I loved every bit of that. And then I graduated high school and knew I wanted to join the military. I just didn't know when. I knew what I wanted to do. I grew up with being a mechanic, being around my grandpa, being a mechanic, being my dad, being hands-on, so hands-on person. And I sat there trying to figure out what it was, and I decided I wanted to join the military and become an aircraft mechanic. But the job opening wasn't there, so the Air Force said, okay, we want you to do a delayed enlistment, and we're going to have you going in January of 2002. I was like, okay, I'll do that. That's what I want to do, so trying to figure out what the calling was. So being separated from my family, my dad and my mom separated and got a divorce, and I lived with my dad as a single father. And in the process, I think we made a decision to finally meet my mom after about 13 years and decided to make a trip out to Pennsylvania. And during that trip, I also got the trip to make it out to New York City. And on September 10th of 2001, I was driving across the Verrazano Bridge, and my grandpa pointed over and he said, kids, that's the World Trade Centers, and tomorrow morning we're going to be there for breakfast. And like God's in your life to put you there for a reason, and he's there for you when you need him. And I got up the next morning, and my grandpa got up late, being in his early 70s, and we got on the train, and we made it to the harbor and watched the first plane hit the World Trade Centers. I was within 3 miles of the first plane that hit, and I was supposed to be there that morning. We watched the second plane hit. And the first one at first, honestly, from where you're at, looked like a movie scene, like they purposely put it up there, and after the second one, you knew something was wrong. I made 3 phone calls that day, trying to get through the broken switchboards that was going on because people were calling over the board. I made 3 phone calls that day. One was to my dad to let him know it was okay, my mom, and the recruiter. And from that point on, 30 days later, I was in the United States Air Force. I made an oath that day that I would prove to the people that red, white, and blue meant to me, that they're not able to do that in our country and get away with it. From there, I was brought to the state of Texas, went to Wichita Falls. I learned how to become a mechanic on a C-130, and the Air Force sent me to Germany. 18 years old, lost, trying to figure out what it is I'm to do. I know I'm a skilled mechanic now. I feel like I could change the world. And I get there and learn along the way. There's just a lot more to learn. Put myself back in a church in the local community there from a couple of the other people that were there. I got to get involved in the local church that was there. And within the process, I spent 2.5 years in Germany, and I got to hit 43 countries by the time I turned 21. It was a great experience. It took me around the world, got me to learn a lot of people. It took me to Iraq. We were in Iraq before we waged war. I was able to bring the troops in quietly and let them know that they weren't even there before we even stepped up. So we were already protecting that country even before we had claimed we were going to wage war on Iraq. Air Force said, hey, we're downsizing the C-130s here due to their old, I worked on 60 model aircraft. A few of you probably have been around them. Worked on C-130s for 2.5 years, and they said, okay, we're downsizing. So I got orders to Korea. And that was a true testament of my strength for God. Being around there's a lot of alcohol, there's a lot of people there, and trying to get involved in a church there was a little hard. So I started doing online church and getting reconnected with my church back home. So I got to see videos and maybe a couple days later, but I got a chance to see them. So I was still involved in the church, not the directly church community, but I knew I still didn't lose that faith. Got orders to McCord Air Force Base, got to work on the C-17. So I went from the Pinto of the C-130 world to the Cadillac of the Air Force, which is the C-17. And got to learn some great experiences, got taken to another additional 6 countries. Through one of them was Iraq, went through and finished through my tour in Iraq. I ended up doing a total of 3 tours to Iraq, and then 3 additional tours to Afghanistan. So I did a total of 6 tours into what we call the sandbox. And came back from my last trip. We were flying around in Afghanistan and got an indication that something was being fired upon us. I had an RPG go into our right outboard motor and embed itself into the motor and not detonate. As that RPG was coming towards the aircraft, we all knew what was ultimately, we decided from that point we made the statement we were going to lay our lives down by signing the dotted line. Well, this was our moment. You know, we all said thank you for everything that we've been through, and that was a great time. It was great that we got to know each other. And then it hit the aircraft and didn't detonate. And we all looked at each other like, okay, what's going on? Like, that was supposed to be the end. And I came back home and felt refreshed, like, okay, well, I wasn't taken there. I came back and was reintegrated back into my normal job, is where you drop off your deployment gear and you get back into your normal home station life. And I was given a flu shot. And 19 days later, I woke up paralyzed from the waist down. And within 72 hours of that, I was paralyzed from the neck down and had 42 lesions on my brain. They put me in a hospital and put me in a medically induced coma to stop the progression. They were watching it eat away at my spinal cord, and from this part on is like hearsay from my father and hearing what he goes through. And he told me that they told him that I wasn't going to live, and they were going to take me out of a medically induced coma, and they were going to try one last ditch effort. They had thrown everything at me from everything they know from the Black Plague and Nile virus and everything. They figured, okay, well, what's going on? We don't know what's going on. We don't know how to stop it. We just know it's going on, but we can slow down the progress. So they were like, well, we're going to try one last ditch effort, and we're going to do plasmapheresis. And that's the process of blowing the plasma out, and just like dialysis, and putting in our artificial or cleaning my own and pushing it through. They decided we're going to clean this and go through this process. I went through 7 sessions of it, and after 24 hours of having those sessions, all 42 lesions were gone. There was no remnants of them. There was no trace of them. They had no idea what went on. Like, my dad deeply knew what was going on. And I woke up and I'm in an ambulance and I'm looking around and I'm in excruciating pain and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I got told, I was like, hey, we're still on our way to the hospital. And I got told, no, you've been in a hospital for 33 days. We're transporting you to another hospital. And at that point, I realized that all I could barely move was my neck and barely gargle out the words of what's going on. And I laid in a hospital bed. I came to again, and it was December 23rd at this point, so 2 days before Christmas, and trying to figure out what's going on. I'm paralyzed. I've got ventilators going on next to me. I've got PICC lines going into my heart. I laid in a hospital bed, and day before Christmas, I got news from the doctors where they come in and they do your assessment every morning. And I heard some gut-wrenching words from a doctor, and the words were, this is him, like the way we see it right now. This individual's not going to be able to walk, breathe, eat, or ever do anything on his own again. So we need to get him into a state where he'll be able to have somebody help him through everything. So I was defined to be a vegetable. And this really, really, really hit me. Those words hit me in hard. Like, I'm not supposed to be this person says I'm going to be. And I laid in a hospital bed trying to figure it out. And along the way, I questioned God. I mean, through everything I went through. Like, I was 25 years old. I could run 1.5 miles in 9 flat. And then all of a sudden, now I'm paralyzed from the neck down. Like, what to do? Like, the depression I went through and trying to figure out, and honestly, I sat there. The intention to kill myself was there, but the capability was not. I think that's what saved me a lot. It was not having the capability to do it. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what to do. I was lost. And I laid in a hospital bed, and they would come in every day and do range of motion movements and move my arms and try to get me through this. And one day, a doctor comes in, and they put me into therapy, and they started doing things, and they started doing electrolysis, and they would hook my arms to electrical firing mechanisms that would fire off. And I started off with the ability just to twitch. Just that twitching feeling gave me back the feeling of you know what, if I can do that, I can do more. I don't know what it is I can do more, but I'm going to figure it along the way. And they did some crazy mind-boggling things that I could like explain to you. And they would put my hand in a box, and the box would be split right down the middle. In the middle is a mirror. They put my right hand in, and even with that little bit of twitch, I got no movement on my left hand. They had to lift it up. They had to do everything. They had to squeeze it. They had to do everything. And put my hand in the box, and I stared at my hand, and I stared at the middle, which was like me looking at both my hands, and I twitched my right hand. And they pulled my left hand out, and within seconds, I twitched my left hand. They had reconnected my right brain to my left brain just by faking it out. And I'm like, okay, well, if we can do that, I can do even more. And I left the hospital after about 9.5 months with a little bit of upper body strength. I was given keys to a gym, and I would go to the gym with some help, and I would slowly start to push my hands, even if it was just a little bit. Half time I had to have my arms strapped, and I'd get a little bit of movement. I left the hospital with the ability to barely push myself in a wheelchair. And I started slowly coming back for outpatient rehab and from inpatient and trying to figure out what it is, and we started getting more and more progress along the way. And 2.5 years later, I gained the ability to start moving my lower body. And I knew from there, like, okay, well, what is this drive and determination to be? Like, who am I to be now? Now, like, I'm not to be this vegetable, I was told. I got the ability to step up and walk with forearm crutches and work through, like, this long, hard process. As of November 18th of this year, it's been 7 years. I was told again I'd never breathe, eat, walk again, and I'm up to this. Then I come to last year in June, I'm here in the state of Texas for the VA wheelchair games. And, you know, like, people are put in your life for a reason, and you try to figure this out. Like, along the way, you don't figure it out till later on, and you're like, well, I should have acted on that, or like, you get involved in that. And I get brought to a gym that's in Dallas, and the gym is called the Adaptive Training Foundation. And I come here with the expectation of being just introduced to an individual who focuses on adaptive training and focuses on, okay, giving back one part of your life. And I was like, cool. So I got to get in here, and I get in there walking with my daughter and my beautiful wife, and we get into this gym, and it's kind of, the tempo of the gym's a little different. You're like, okay, well, it's not like basic equipment. It looks a little weird. And I get into his gym, and he puts me in what we call a solo walker. And the solo walker is a harness system with a track system. And he puts me in, and he goes, when's the last time you fell? And I was like, I fall all the time. And he's like, well, how's about if I stop you from falling? And I was like, okay. So he put me in a harness, and he puts me up, and within seconds, he pushes me to get me the feeling of what it felt to fall. Like, we all understand falling is something that happens, but we all try to prevent it. So our body, like, throws ourselves in a way to protect ourselves. Well, he wanted me to know what it felt like. So I go down, and then he puts something in front of me, and we start walking. And then he looks at me in the face. He's like, when's the last time did you jump? And I said, 2008, when I had a reason. And he's like, all right, so we're going to get you up on this trampoline, and I want you to do this. And I started getting up on the trampoline, and it was weird, getting this feeling. He picked me up, put me up in there, and he started getting this spongy feeling of what it feels like. So he wanted me to start by holding the wall and bouncing off the feet. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And he goes, now I want you to slowly take your hands away from the wall and start jumping again. And I'm like, okay. And within seconds, I started leaning back, and he's like, that's what's going to happen. So he held me and pushed me back up, and he goes, all right, now this is the biggest feat. I want you to do it with your eyes closed. And within seconds, I'm talking about the first second I came all the way back. And he's like, that's what it feels like to fall. You need to know that this is what it feels like to fall. We got done within about 15 minutes. I was jumping on my own, not even holding onto the wall. Like, he was like so impressed to see this, and he looked at me straight in the face. He's like, I want you part of this program. And threw the sticker price at us, and we're like trying to figure out what it is like to do. So my wife looked at me straight in the face. She goes, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So we started figuring out ways to fundraise and go through. God bestowed upon us a beautiful daughter on October 8th of 2015. And I got called that morning via text message, and he told me, I have something important to tell you. And I was like, okay, I have a surprise. And I picked up the phone, and my wife is still cuddling our brand new baby, and we're just trying to get through, like, hey, we had a baby. Like, and he calls me, and he goes, I want you to know something. I want you to stop fundraising. I had an organization step up and pay your way. I've been here since January the 18th in Dallas, Texas, part of this program. You understand why people are put in your life and why things happen in your life. The things that you do are for a reason. And we've been trying to break through. A lot of my issues are on my right side of breaking through. And in the last 6 weeks, God has bestowed upon me the ability to move my right leg now. And able to pick up. pick up my right leg. But in the process, I've got 2 beautiful daughters. I have a beautiful wife, and I see their face when she sees me walk. My 5-year-old daughter, Carly, sees me walk and sees me pick up. And I know I'm going to be a different story for my 5-year-old and my 5-month-old now because of what he bestows upon me. But I know deep through everything you do is a reason. Directly he might not show it, but God puts people in your life for a reason, and God puts people in front of you or gets you involved in a program. But then I go to find out that the individual who runs this program is so faith-based in itself. Like, okay, now I know where I need to be. Like, this is the family where I need to be. And the program that's in Dallas, changes lives, and he tries to give back people one thing in their life. And he doesn't care if that's from brushing your teeth or tying your shoes. A lot of the guys that are in this program are amputees, and the one guy that's in our program now is the first ever double arm transplant. And he's now gotten the ability to squeeze his hands and squeeze a ball from being in this guy's program. God put him there and put them in my life, and then being able to come to talk to you, I know this, somebody asks you a question to do something and it scares you, but you're like, there's a reason. Deep down inside why God wants you to be a part of life. Along the way, I lost myself, yes, but along the way, I found myself. And now a lot of it's about being an advocate for other veterans. And we all go through our own little thing, but at the same time, if I can give back what he's given to me, even if it's inspiration, somebody looks at me like, you inspire me, that's awesome to hear, but I know that that's them ultimately saying God's inspiring them. Deeply downside, I know that. Yeah, I'm a vessel, but at the downside, I know that I'm him through him. I am him through me. That's why I know when people say that, it gets to me, where a lot of people are well, I'm not an inspiration. I'll tell them I'm not an inspiration, but I know deep down inside, he's the inspiration through me. So thank you so much for allowing me to come here to talk to you guys.
I don't know if y'all know Jason, but he'll say a couple words here.
Hey, thanks, y'all. Hey, earlier when they said if you're new here, raise your hand, I think every veteran in the crowd kind of cringed, right? Right? Because raise your hand, congratulations, you made the infantry, right? Raise your hand, congratulations, you're going on a deployment, right? Okay. Well, today is not that kind of congratulations, okay? Today, we labored long and hard since we started Operation Greater Love on trying to find the right people to help out and introduce to our community here. And today, what I'd like to tell you folks is that we have done that labor and we've done that praying, and you guys are our candidate for building a home for Operation Greater Love.